What was your Thanksgiving drama this year? My neighbors had cops over. Piece of crap beat his wife and smashed her head into the wall. We had our autistic son over to keep him away while the cops were talking to them and CSI investigated the inside. The mashed potatoes were really good. The woman was pregnant, which made it worse, but got him additional charges. When I posted a comment, there was a helicopter looking for him and the cops had been here for a few hours waiting for him to come back as he grabbed her car keys, phone, and car before dipping. Cops had pinged her cell phone like 20 miles away before they left. He came back an hour after my comment and got into a verbal argument, so the older son came over and knocked. I called the cops and stayed on the phone until they came. He refused to come out of the room until they forced him to. While arresting him, he was resisting, so they repeatedly threatened him with resisting and obstruction charges. The shithead is bulky but short, but it was quite a sight watching two mountain-sized cops carry him down by his arms while his little feetsies dangled breathe him. If I heard correctly, he got 2 assault charges. The woman and her unborn child, endangerment for the youngest son, disturbing the peace. The older son wanted to press charges, so they said that's all he could do. He wanted to ensure that if his mom didn't pursue the charges, he would stick with his, and I think theft, grand theft, but I didn't hear them repeat those when handing her the paper, so they may not have actually charged those. A large mixing bowl full of yams disappeared into nothing while everyone was trying to get food on the table. We have looked absolutely everywhere there is to look and it's just gone. 9 people seriously questioning their sanity now. There are lots of things that could have happened to the yams themselves, but the bowl being missing is a real head scratcher. 8 questioning sanity, 1 pretending. My dad's wife is back on M. She hid his keys inside his car so that he can't find them, but it will still start. Push to start car, so she can drive without him knowing. She also stuck a magnetic tracker thing on under his seat. I also found out that my cousin with Down syndrome can knock back whiskey just like she's drinking water. She parties harder than I ever could, and I'm jealous. Hey, just for your information, your dad can get a new key programmed to the car, and the old one will not work anymore. So even if you still can't find it, it won't be able to start the car. In-laws are visiting from out of town, except father-in-law decided to leave yesterday and go home before Thanksgiving and did not come back. He told my wife and I, just not his wife. Mother-in-law is still here. For your information, this is normal for him. I separated from my alcoholic husband last week, so it was quiet and peaceful. My first Thanksgiving without him in 33 years. I also accidentally broke a glass serving platter that we received as a wedding present. How symbolic. 2 bites into my meal at my mother-in-law's house, my Ring doorbell alerted me to someone ringing my doorbell. I pulled it up and catch an old man entering my house. I bolted out of my chair and went home. She lives close. I get there and no one is there. I pull up the video and see he exited like 20 seconds after he entered, grumbling HRRRM wrong house. The funny thing was, as we were leaving, I thought to myself, did I lock the front door? What are the fricking odds? My food was still warm when I got back to my mother-in-law's house. I walked into the wrong house on Thanksgiving 2 years ago. I was 24 years old, but as soon as I walked in and saw people I've never seen before, I turned around and said bye. It was then that I realized a lot of people probably leave their front door unlocked on Thanksgiving. My 21-year-old sister will graduate from college in less than a month. My brother congratulated her on being the first person in our family to graduate college without getting pregnant. Turns out that's not true. She started sobbing and got in her car and drove away. Whoops. I have a history of saying crap to someone at exactly the wrong moment in that person's life. I can relate. My mom died last night. This Thanksgiving pretty much sucked. Luckily, she had plenty of family that loved her and it's been alright grieving. Unfortunately, my sister's last interaction with her was doing CPR. She's traumatized. Everyone is sad. Petty family drama and politics did not make an appearance this year. Just lots of prayers and people telling me they are sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss. That's so awful. I'm glad you have family and loved ones around you. My last memory of my twin sister was giving CPR. So I know your sister is and will be going through a lot too. My mom's had some issues that I think my dad has been downplaying. She has good days and bad, but today was bad. Nothing she said made sense. No sentence connected to another sentence, and sometimes the end of a sentence wouldn't connect to the beginning. And she was very frustrated with everyone that we didn't understand. She had conversations with people that weren't there, swore people were there that were either dead or hadn't shown up. It was just my dad, her, and I. Very obvious who wasn't there. Full stop. She saw me after dinner and said, "I'm so glad you finally made it. You missed it. It was a madhouse earlier with the kids running around." I could go on and on, but my dad brushed it off as her just being sleep deprived. It was kinda like talking to someone who was half awake and half dreaming. But this has happened a few times before. Not as bad, but she has refused to see a doctor. The tearjerker was when we gently helped her to understand that all night no one else had been here, and I could see it in her eyes. She said, "You're right. I do need to see someone." So I guess that's what we are doing in the morning. I hope she's having a good day, and it will be easier to bring her. Is this dementia? IDK man, I've never seen it before. It sounds like it, hun. I'm sorry. It's possibly being exacerbated by a UT. You would not believe how confused that can make people. My mum wasn't too far down her dementia path when she had a UT, and it was like, holy crap. She's totally gone. No coning back, but after some antibiotics and fluids, she was back to how she was. Try to get her to see a doctor as soon as you can. Hugs from Ireland. My in-laws have a place at a lake an hour or so from our house. Every time we go, my sil takes the bedroom with a full bed and toddler bed for herself and her one child, who sleeps with her. Her other 2 children sleep with my in-laws. My husband and our 3 children are left trying to figure out where to sleep, usually on an air mattress on the living room floor. Well, we came early and took the room. She is livid, stomping around and slamming doors. Has been for 4 hours. Update. Thank you to everyone who responded. Sil eventually went to bed around midnight, after saying 4 hours that she was going to go to a hotel instead of sleep in the other bedroom with a twin mattress. Middle told her this morning she better knock it off, and the day has been relatively normal. I basically talked with her like nothing was wrong. Tried the whole kill 'em with kindness approach. Seemed to work. Was actually a really good day. Best holiday we have had. Played board games and laughed. Strange considering how it started. She got beat at her own petty game. Well played. My mother-in-law always buys Thanksgiving dinner, and this time she didn't notice she bought the raw turkey, and it wasn't until an hour before dinner when she learned she had to cook it rather than warm it up. My 12-year-old cousin wouldn't eat any of the food that my 80-year-old grandma spent the whole day making because it wasn't Brazilian. His parents are 100% Italian and we do not have any Brazilian relatives. His parents are brain surgeons, so they're loaded, and their excuse was that he doesn't eat homemade stuff, only high-end. I have no idea what that had to do with Brazilian food, but I'm assuming it's some sort of phase. I don't even think he's had Brazilian food before. My mom found out a week ago that she has terminal lung cancer and has 12 months to live. Needless to say, there was a cloud over the meal. I'm sorry to hear that. I lost my mom to metastatic lung cancer. Please spend as much time with her as you possibly can and treat her as the person she still is and not as the cancer she has. Hugs to you, my friend. Closed the restaurant I work at. I'm a manager. 3 hours early so the kitchen guys could go home and spend some semblance of a Thanksgiving with their families, assumedly against the wishes of our GM director of operations. Waiting on the angry emails, phone calls, sit down. Whatever. I'm leaving in 2 weeks. Showed up to the in-laws. Middle nowhere to be seen. Phil is in the kitchen working on almost finished dinner. We're told Mill isn't feeling well and is in the bathroom. Husband goes to check on her. Comes back a while later. Turns out she was stressed and ornery earlier in the day, so Phil offered her one of his edibles he has for medical purposes. She ate her first ever edible on Thanksgiving. Got dinner halfway done, then ended up on the floor of the bathroom with dizzy spells and nausea. By the time we finished up dinner she had fallen asleep. We moved her to her bed, then ate dinner without her. It was weird. That's gonna be the greatest leftovers she's ever had. Had to work. Multiple residents in the lobby. One resident drops part of her meal she was taking to family. Small child is knocked over by the extremely helpful dog who couldn't wait to assist with cleanup. One resident argued with her daughter when she arrived. Told her daughter that she wasn't going to dinner because half the family is unvaccinated. Another resident had their plans completely fricked when her son's transmission went out and was unable to pick her up, and poor guy was stuck at the halfway point and had to wait a few hours for a tow. And the last of it, so far, dude comes back from family dinner. He stops to chat. Apparently their holiday meal almost came to blows when the black sheep of the family turned up uninvited and tried to bum money from their elderly mother. Still have a few people out and still have a few hours left on shift, so there may be more to come as people stop by the desk to talk about their evening. You know what's better than one family's drama? Many families' drama. My kids got hammered one night. One got left at the bar and walked 3 miles to get home. I woke up 3 AM and saw that one kid was missing, so I called him. He was still a mile from home, so I drove to get him. When I got to him, the police were questioning him. Said they had a report of a man with a weapon having a mental health crisis. Luckily they got another call and let my doofus go home with me. After finishing off my truck stop turkey meal in my big rig truck, I went to use the facilities. Guy in the stall next to me was loudly watching funny videos on his phone and whacking off and moaning and intermittently laughing at the video. America's funniest P videos. My dad and stepmom were ragging on me, which is pretty normal. I came to their house for Thanksgiving and my brother showed up. My brother and I haven't seen each other in about 4 years. Anyway, so they're going on about me and my brother is getting visibly uncomfortable. They've been like this to me my whole life, and I think my brother had that realization very suddenly, same as I did when my girlfriend pointed it out. It was good to see someone get upset about the things they say to me. It makes me realize I'm not crazy. This sounds exactly like my husband, except he's an only child. It took me to be uncomfortable and angry for solidarity to come. They're cut out of our lives now. Family should be a safe place, or it isn't family. IMHO. Met my cousin's fiancée for the first time. She is clearly mentally unwell. She dominated all conversation with her non-stop ramblings, which included a story about the first time she masturbated and asked that we buy a baby xylophone for her chickens as a wedding gift for the human couple. Baby xylophones are really cute, but folks forget they grow up into adult xylophones and often aren't prepared for all the work they require. Thanksgiving was supposed to be my wife and me in Oregon, but then my father passed away on Sunday. Booked a red-eye flight to get home to be with mom and help out with things. Despite being a poor cook, I swung by the grocery store on Tuesday so I could prepare something for the two of us. Turned out okay. I'm so sorry for your loss. My 17-year-old cousin stood up in the middle of dinner and announced he got a girl pregnant and she was keeping the baby. Most people laughed until about 30 awkward seconds went by, and one by one we started realizing that he was in fact serious when he started going into details. My 80-year-old grandma, who hasn't had a drink of alcohol in over a decade, drank wine straight out of the bottle after. Grandma, give me the fricking bottle right now. My Thanksgiving dinner was me, my parents, and my younger sister. Just the 4 of us at my parents' home. Mom got a text message from my aunt, mom's sister, about how grandma, mom's mom, was bad-mouthing the food she made and talking about how her boys, mom and aunt's brothers, can't be expected to eat this stuff. Mom texted aunt back with, tell her that guests don't get to complain about free food, they just get to choose if they want to eat or not. Apparently aunt took this advice, because about 20 minutes later mom got several texts and voicemails. She didn't answer her phone, about how aunt kicked people out early and how mom ruined Thanksgiving by telling aunt to say that. This is why we stopped going to family Thanksgivings BTW. Mom's the hero there. My boyfriend's brother bought over these really spicy chips he got at Five Below. I think they are called the spiciest chips in the world, IDKLOL. Anyways, both of them ate one. About 5 minutes later, I walk into the kitchen and I see my boyfriend with tears rolling down his face and stuffing ice cream in his face LMAO. Then he disappeared for a little bit, so I went upstairs and found him laying in the hallway, drenched in sweat and barely able to even speak. He said he threw up and he wasn't human for the next little bit. Both their grandparents were calling them idiots LOL. Novices. You're supposed to prime up the digestive system by eating a banana first. He's gonna be having round 2, spicy butthole boogaloo on the toilet tomorrow. Uncle by marriage helped paint Sil house and apparently she never thanked him. Now he is holding a grudge. Thanksgiving was to be at the uncle's house until this thing blew up. I'm just back here eating deviled eggs and drinking beer. Yum. You are eating right. I love deviled eggs. My mom, who I've been no contact with for most of my life, said she wanted to reconcile and please come to Thanksgiving so she could see her grandson. She wasn't there when we arrived and told my sister that she didn't want to have dinner with us. Literally nobody cared, and we had a great Thanksgiving without her. Honestly dodged a bullet. Come visit, I want to see you. I don't want to see you. This Beal Mayo. Father-in-law got drunk, took his shirt off and then arm wrestled my son, lost. Then tried to tackle his daughter, my wife, also lost. Everyone is worried grandma has dementia, but for some reason she made a pie. Everyone ate it and pretended it was pie. Not sure what to call it. It was in a pie pan. There was no crust. It had apples. Deconstructed apple pie. An argument about the Left Behind series being fictional or not. My aunt got upset because my cousin and I called the series fictional. Not Christian, however. Neither of us were attempting to debate the validity of the Bible's telling of the end times. We were simply stating that the series was fictional by definition. My future monster-in-law told us last week her and the kids were COVID positive and in bad shape. She said they weren't doing Thanksgiving, so don't bother showing up. Guess who sent long and angry texts about us not showing up to dinner? My cousin was apparently at a party last night. This morning when she left, she gave a friend a ride home, and when the guy got out of her car he was shot 5 times. She rushed him to the ER and he died shortly after. Needless to say, she wasn't at dinner. She is doing as fine as she can be. My cousin's neighbor best friend caught COVID and was depressed about being stuck in the house while everyone else was out for the night with relatives. So, they stole the pumpkin pie from the fridge and ate the whole thing. It would be hilarious sad if he couldn't even taste it. Had to listen to my dad talk about how the communists are conspiring with our podunk town's Walmart to make the aisles narrower. I want to be in this much denial about gaining weight. Well, my parents are divorcing after 24 years. My dad had an affair, and my family Thanksgiving is going down on Saturday, so TBD. Same. My parents were married forever. IDK how you feel about your parents, but I was freaking devastated. If you are too, know that there's another side and you'll make it through. If you're not devastated, then that is okay. None. My wife's extended family ticked us off last year. Hurt her bad. So, we ate out for the first time ever. When we came home, I noticed that she was stress-free. This year, she asked me to go out again. We did today. Went to our local Cracker Barrel, and it was good. Above all, she is stress-free, which is good. An oven mitt suddenly and unexplainably caught fire while sitting on its own in the middle of the countertop. I think that's proof enough that the natural habitat of the chaos gods is every popular holiday. My little cousin was running an imaginary ice cream stand, and in a matter of minutes her prices rose from coins to 19. The inflation only ended when one of the uncles paid her an actual quarter for the imaginary ice cream. Incredible business model. Tell me more. My cousin's boyfriend took a huge crap and needed to ask people for a plunger. This is his first time meeting our large family. LOL. Our oven heated to 400 but didn't keep its temperature. When we went to take everything out, the temp was only 225. Had to reheat everything and keep a close eye on it. This is some very pleasant G-rated drama, and I for one appreciate it. A nice palate cleanser. My dad called my brother's fiance's dad fat and had no clue why that was offensive. They literally weigh 5 pounds different. Then he said it again 15 minutes later. My mom was ready to slap him. This is the spark to start a feud I was looking for. My little nephew fell face first into my brother's freezing cold pool with his bike, and when he was pulled out he screamed, "My bike." A 22-year woman showed up at my house crying because she was lost and asked me if I could help her find her boyfriend's house. I was just about to put my streaks on the grill. My wife and I had a couple drinks at this point, so I offered to walk her to her boyfriend's house. She knew that he lived near the jail and that was only about a 15 minutes walk from my house. While we were walking, she said that her phone and food stamp debit card got stolen recently, so she couldn't call her boyfriend. We ended up walking the area I thought he would love in based upon her very incomplete description of where he lived. She said that some of the sites looked familiar, but she wasn't sure if we were in the right area. At one point we found a cop and she asked him for help, but he said that he was busy responding to a call. After walking a good chunk of my small hometown, we found his house. A 2-mile or so walk that ended up being just a few blocks from my house. It was a nice walk. My dog enjoyed it and I got to help someone. She is my daughter's age and I didn't want anything bad to happen to her. NGL I was waiting for, and that's when I got jumped. Glad to be wrong. This is likely the last Thanksgiving we'll have with a very close family friend. He himself doesn't have any family, so he's been coming to our Thanksgiving for about 20 years. He's 54 now and has terminal stomach cancer. He doesn't have long left. He can't do chemo anymore. His last round almost killed him. We all had a good time, but the whole evening had that undertone and we were all trying to have at least one last Thanksgiving moment with him. My partner's roommates shoved me into a wall and threatened to throw me and my partner down the stairs and knock me the frick out. All because they were under some deluded impression that I had been stealing toilet paper from them. Anyway, check file a police report off my Thanksgiving bucket list. I guess : My girlfriend's nieces had lice, and they were constantly hovering over my son. Also, their dad didn't seem to give two shoots. My dad just rushed my mom to the ER, and we have no idea what's happening. My dad is in the ICU after a stroke. Keep your head up. Just being present is the most important thing, RN. Best wishes, man. My mother-in-law was admitted to the ICU by her primary doctor yesterday afternoon. At 4 AM she had to undergo emergency surgery lasting 6 hours. They still can't get her heart rate down and her kidneys may be failing. And my brother-in-law said that we were being dramatic because if she was that sick, he'd have known before now. My mother-in-law recently went from just going to see the GP about this random bump on my belly button to you have inoperable metastatic pancreatic cancer in 3 days. So, frick your brother-in-law, personally. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.